My family didn't just talk about me, they put me on trial. At a packed 4th of July barbecue in my parents' backyard, my father stood up in front of neighbors, coworkers, and half our extended family and said I was mentally unstable and lying about the business. My mother nodded like she was confirming a diagnosis. My uncle actually clapped him on the back. They said I was jealous, said I was bitter, said I'd fabricated everything because I couldn't handle real responsibility. They tore my credibility apart while people balanced paper plates and pretended not to stare. They thought public humiliation would shut me up. They forgot I had every email saved and nothing left to lose. The 4th of July was always my mother's favorite holiday, not because she loved America particularly, because she loved hosting. The backyard transformed into a patriotic wonderland, red, white, and blue streamers hanging from the fence, sparklers in mason jars on every table, a giant flag draped across the porch. She'd been planning this barbecue for months. I almost didn't go. After everything that had happened with the business, after the accusations and the lawyers, and the way they'd turned their backs on me, I told myself I was done. No more family events, no more pretending. But my grandmother called the night before. She said, "Come." Just that one word, "come." So I went. I arrived around 4 p.m. when the party was already in full swing. The backyard was packed. Neighbors from up and down the street, my father's coworkers from the office, cousins I hadn't seen in years, aunts and uncles and family friends. Kids ran through the sprinklers, grills smoked in the corner. Someone had brought a karaoke machine that no one was using. My mother spotted me immediately. Her face flickered. Surprise, then something else, then a smile so fake it hurt to look at. "You came," she air-kissed my cheek. "How brave." I didn't ask what she meant by that. I already knew. My father was by the grill, holding court with his buddies. He looked up when I walked past, nodded once, and went back to his conversation. I found my grandmother in a lawn chair near the back fence, watching the chaos with tired eyes. She patted the chair beside her, and I sat. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Ask me in a few hours." She squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens, remember who you are." I didn't know what she meant then. I would later. For a while, it was almost okay. I made small talk with cousins I hadn't seen in years, watched the kids run through the sprinklers, ate a hot dog, and pretended everything was normal. Then the sun started to set, and my father grabbed a beer and climbed onto the porch steps. "Can I have everyone's attention?" The crowd turned. Conversations died. Someone turned down the music. My father stood there, beer in hand, backlit by the fading sun, looking every inch the patriarch he'd always wanted to be. "I just want to say a few words," he began, "about family, about loyalty, about what it means to be part of something bigger than yourself." I felt my stomach drop. "You know, we've had some difficulties in this family lately, some challenges, some disagreements." He paused, letting the words hang. "And one of the hardest things about being a parent is watching your child make choices that hurt everyone around them." People shifted uncomfortably. The kids kept playing, oblivious, but the adults had gone still. My mother appeared beside him, nodding along like this was rehearsed. It probably was. "I'm talking about my daughter," my father continued, pointing his beer bottle in my general direction. "The one sitting in the back, pretending she's just another guest." Every head turned. 50 people, maybe more, all staring at me. "She's been spreading lies about the family business, about me, about her mother. She's been telling people we wronged her, that we cheated her, that we're the bad guys." My mother shook her head sadly. "We gave her everything." My father nodded. "Everything. And in return, she's tried to destroy us. She's bitter because she couldn't handle real responsibility. She's jealous because her cousins are succeeding where she failed. And now she's making up stories to make herself feel better. My uncle stepped forward, clapped my father on the back. Tough love, man. Tough love. Someone in the crowd actually laughed. Nervous laughter, but laughter. I sat frozen in my lawn chair, 50 pairs of eyes burning into me. My grandmother's hand gripped mine under the table. My father raised his beer to family, the real family, the ones who show up and tell the truth. People drank. A few glanced at me, then quickly away. My mother dabbed at her dry eyes, perfectly dry, and smiled at the crowd. Thank you all for being here, for supporting us, for understanding. The party resumed. Conversations started back up. The music came on again. Kids kept running through the sprinklers. But nothing was the same. I sat there for another hour, frozen in that lawn chair, while people avoided me like I had a disease. Cousins who'd hugged me earlier now couldn't meet my eyes. Family friends walked past without speaking. Even the neighbor who'd known me since I was born pretended not to see me. My grandmother stayed beside me the whole time, holding my hand. Around 9 p.m., I stood up, walked to my car, got in. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the house, at the party still going on inside, at the people who had just watched my father execute me in public. Then I reached into my glove compartment and pulled out a folder. Inside were emails, hundreds of them, from my father, from my uncle, from business partners and associates. Emails proving everything they'd accused me of lying about was actually true. The embezzlement, the fraud, the way they'd been bleeding the business dry for years and blaming me for the shortfalls. I had proof of all of it. I'd been saving it for months, not sure what to do with it, not sure if I had the strength to use it. Now I knew. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Channel 5 News, I have a story for you about a family business, about fraud, and about a public shaming at a 4th of July barbecue that just made sure everyone in this city knows my name. I gave them the address, told them to come now. Then I sat back in my seat, watched the party through my windshield, and waited for the fireworks to begin. The news van arrived 45 minutes later. I watched from my car as it pulled up to my parents' house, satellite dish extending, a reporter and cameraman stepping out like they owned the place. The party was still going strong. Music playing, people laughing, kids chasing each other with sparklers. No one noticed the van at first. Then the reporter walked through the open gate. I got out of my car and followed. By the time I reached the backyard, everything had changed. The music stopped, conversations died, 50 people stood frozen, staring at the reporter holding a microphone and the cameraman recording everything. My father spotted me first. His face went from confusion to rage in about 2 seconds. "What did you do?" I didn't answer, just walked past him to stand beside the reporter. "This is her. This is the family I told you about." The reporter, a woman named Jessica I'd spoken to on the phone, nodded and turned to the crowd. "I'm here with Channel 5 News. We've received documents alleging fraud, embezzlement, and a pattern of intimidation within this family's business. We're hoping to get some comments from the people involved." My mother's face went white. My uncle actually dropped his beer. My father stepped forward, hands up. "This is private property. You need to leave." "Sir, we have every right to be here. The gate was open and we're on a public street." Jessica smiled, calm and professional, "But I'm happy to talk out here, in front of all your guests." My father looked at me. The rage in his eyes was something I'd never seen before. Pure, naked hatred. "You're destroying this family." I shrugged. "You started the destruction, Dad. I'm just making sure everyone sees it." I pulled out the folder and handed it to Jessica. Copies for everyone. Emails between my father and his business partners discussing how to hide the money they were stealing from the company. Emails from my uncle asking how to make the problem, that's me, go away. Bank statements showing where the money actually went. Jessica flipped through the pages, her eyes widening. This is extensive. It's the truth, which is more than anyone in this backyard has given me in years. The crowd was murmuring now, people pulling out phones, recording everything, my cousins staring at their parents with new eyes, neighbors exchanging shocked glances. My mother grabbed my arm. "You gave us everything, everything." "I gave you nothing. You took, and you took, and you took. And when I finally asked for something in return, you called me mentally unstable and told everyone I was lying." I shook her off. "The 4th of July is supposed to be about freedom, right? Well, consider this my Independence Day." I turned to the crowd, raised my voice so everyone could hear. "Anyone who wants the full story, Channel 5 will have it tonight at 11. And anyone who wants proof, real proof, not the lies you heard earlier, can email me. I'll send you everything." My father lunged at me. His own friends held him back. His coworkers watched in horror. My uncle stood frozen, beer still dripping from his dropped bottle. I walked out of that backyard and didn't look back. The news aired at 11. I watched it from my apartment alone, with a glass of wine and a heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Jessica had done an incredible job. She laid out the evidence piece by piece, the emails, the bank statements, the timeline of how my family had been stealing from their own business for years. They even included footage from the barbecue, my father's speech, his accusations, the way the crowd turned to stare at me, and then my response, the folder, the walkout. By midnight, my phone was exploding. Texts from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, messages from former coworkers of my father, even a few from neighbors who'd been at the barbecue, apologizing for not speaking up, for not seeing the truth. I didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. Around 1 a.m., there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my grandmother standing in the hallway, leaning on her cane, tears in her eyes. "I watched it," she said. "All of it." I helped her inside, sat her on my couch. "You did the right thing. Your grandfather would be proud." I sat beside her, took her hand. "Are you okay with everything that came out?" She laughed, a dry, tired laugh. "I knew. I've always known. I just didn't have the courage to stop them." We sat together for a long time, not speaking, just holding hands. Around 3 a.m., she fell asleep on my couch. I covered her with a blanket and sat in the dark, watching the city lights through my window, waiting for whatever came next. The next morning, my father was arrested. I got the call from a reporter at 9 a.m. Channel 5 had tipped off the authorities, and the police had picked him up at home. My uncle was being questioned. The business was being frozen pending investigation. My mother called 17 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Her messages shifted over the course of the day. First angry, "How could you do this to your own father?" Then desperate, "Please, we need to talk about this." Then broken, "Your father is in jail. He's 62 years old. Please." I saved everyone. My grandmother woke up around noon, made herself coffee, sat at my kitchen table like she'd been there 1,000 times. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we wait. The investigation will take months, maybe longer." "And your father?" I shrugged. "He made his choices. Now he lives with them." She nodded slowly. "I never thought I'd see the day." "What day?" "The day someone in this family finally stood up to him." I looked at her, at this woman who had carried their secrets for decades, who had watched them destroy people and said nothing. "I'm sorry it took me so long." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You did it when it mattered. That's all any of us can hope for. The investigation took 6 months. 6 months of waiting, watching, wondering if justice would actually come. My father sat in jail pending trial, denied bail because the prosecutor argued he was a flight risk. My uncle cut a deal, turned state witness, blamed everything on my father to save himself. My mother called every week, sometimes angry, sometimes crying, sometimes just breathing on the other end of the line, not speaking, waiting for me to say something. I never did. My grandmother moved in with me temporarily. Her house had been in my father's name, part of the assets frozen by the court. She couldn't go back until everything was settled. We sat on my balcony most nights, watching the city lights, talking about nothing and everything. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked one evening. I thought about the question, about the barbecue, the news van, the moment my father lunged at me, about the emails I'd saved for months, waiting for the right moment. "No," I said. "I regret not doing it sooner." She nodded slowly. Good answer. The trial started on a Monday in October. I sat in the front row every single day, watching my father try to defend himself against evidence he couldn't explain. The emails, the bank statements, the testimony of his own brother pointing fingers to save his own skin. My mother sat on the other side of the courtroom, alone. She wouldn't look at me, wouldn't acknowledge my existence. I was dead to her now, just like she'd wanted me to be. On the third day, my father took the stand. He looked smaller than I remembered, older. The confident man who'd stood on those porch steps and destroyed me in front of 50 people was gone, replaced by someone tired and broken. He talked about the business, about the pressure, the debt, the impossible expectations, about how it started small, just a few dollars here and there, just to cover a shortfall, just to keep things going. And then it grew and grew until he couldn't stop. He never once mentioned me, not once. On cross-examination, the prosecutor asked about the barbecue. "Mr. Chen, did you stand in front of 50 people and accuse your daughter of lying about the business?" My father's jaw tightened. I was emotional. "Were you emotional when you transferred company funds to your personal account, when you falsified documents, when you asked your brother to help you hide the evidence?" Objections. Sustained. Overruled. It didn't matter. The damage was done. My father was found guilty on all counts. 12 years in federal prison, restitution of $1.2 million, his assets frozen, his reputation destroyed, his life as he knew it over. My mother collapsed in the courtroom. They had to call an ambulance. I watched it all from my seat in the front row, and I felt nothing. That night, my grandmother made dinner at my apartment. Simple things: pasta, salad, bread from the bakery. We ate in silence for a while. Then she set down her fork. "Are you okay?" I thought about the trial, the verdict, the look on my father's face when the judge read the sentence, about my mother, alone in some hospital room, probably already blaming me for everything. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I thought I'd feel something, relief, maybe, or satisfaction, but I just feel empty." She reached across the table and took my hand. "That's normal. You've been fighting for so long, you forgot what peace feels like. Does it get better?" She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. "Yes, it gets better. Not perfect, but better." A month later, my uncle's deal meant he got probation instead of prison. He moved to Florida, changed his name, tried to start over. I heard he's selling timeshares now. Good for him. My mother sold the house, the one with the backyard where everything happened. She moved to Arizona to be close to her sister, sent me one last letter before she left. "I don't understand how you could do this to your own family, to your own family. You've destroyed everything we built. I hope you're happy." I read it once, then I put it in a drawer with all the other letters, all the other proof, all the other memories of who they were. I didn't respond. My grandmother passed away 2 years later, peacefully, in her sleep, in the apartment I'd found for her after the trial. She was 87 years old. At her funeral, I stood alone by the grave while a handful of people, friends from her bridge club, a neighbor from her old street, paid their respects. No one from my family came. not my mother, not my cousins, no one. I didn't expect them to. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small envelope, the letter she'd written me years ago, the one I'd found in the journal. I read it one last time, then tucked it back into my pocket. "Thank you," I whispered to the headstone, "for believing me, for staying, for everything." The wind picked up, rustling the leaves around me. I turned and walked away. Today, I run a small consulting business from my apartment. Nothing fancy, just me, a laptop, and clients who don't ask about my past. I still have the emails, all of them, saved on a hard drive in my closet, just in case. My father sends letters from prison sometimes. I've never opened one. My mother calls on Christmas. I let them go to voicemail. Some people say forgiveness is the only way to heal. Maybe they're right. Maybe someday I'll get there. But not today. Today, I'm just grateful I survived. And that's enough. Would you have forgiven them? Comment below. Is family worth fighting for, even when they try to destroy you? Subscribe for more stories about betrayal, justice, and choosing yourself.